First, there has to be some sort of surrender and trust, and then we can actually offer some service with love. And that's also the difference between the surrender with fear and surrender with love. And then it can also be said, bhakti is like the end. So this is the last verse of the ISKCON by Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, where Lord Chaitanya is expressing, he's basically taking on the mood of Krishna's topmost devotees, the gopis, who say that, my dear Lord, whatever you want to do with me, whether you trample me down or whether you don't appear to me, you disappear from me, whatever you want to do with my life, I still accept you as my Lord and Master. And that's described as the ultimate culmination, the goal. One of the 9 limbs, someone said that. And it can also be said that it's in the midst of all the different limbs, right? When we're chanting Hare Krishna, there's some amount of surrender there, right? Or if one, even hearing, right? There's some trust that this is helpful for me to hear this. So many different things can be said. And in the famous Sharanagati prayers of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, the first verse, he says, this Sharanagati is Bhakatera Pran, which means it's the life and soul of the devotees. So, hence, it's pretty important if you want to practice bhakti. So, 6 principles of surrender. This is coming from a verse which is actually, I'm not sure where it's originated, but it's well known, describing the principles of surrender. Now, we're going to look at these briefly, and then we're going to look how they play out in the lives of different devotees. And that's when it's going to get fun, because we're going to start talking. So, anukuliyasya sankalpa means accepting what is favorable. It means if there's surrender, then I will do what you say, right? What's helpful, what's useful. And rejecting what is unfavorable. I'm not going to do what you don't want. Rakshishati vishvaso, that means trusting that Krishna is my protector. Krishna will protect me ultimately. And then goptritve varanam, assurance that Krishna will maintain me. So sometimes there's a question of what's the difference between protecting and maintaining. But sometimes we see that sometimes it's both, right? If you have a parent will be protecting their child and also maintaining them. But if you have, say, like a police officer might be protecting someone, but he's not maintaining them, right? Or an employer might be maintaining someone, but not protecting them. So these two things are both there, that trusting that Krishna is the protector and also the ultimate maintainer. Even though I get a paycheck from my job, I know ultimately where it's coming from. Atmanikshepa is full self-surrender, and I've also heard it described as basically not having a separate interest, or recognizing that the interest of the Supreme is also in my own interest. Just like the example that we gave of the hand. Whatever the hand does, or whatever the body wants the hand to do is beneficial for the hand, right? Because I also like my hand. I would like it to be healthy. So Atmanikshepa means trusting that I am part of Krishna and Krishna wants me to be happy, and whatever Krishna wants in my life is beneficial for me, even if it seems like it's not in my small conception of things. And karpanye, humility, or seeing oneself as small, seeing oneself as lowly, sometimes even fallen, that I don't know everything, I'm not perfect, I've actually made mistakes, and that I need some help. Right? So these 6 principles are commonly described as kind of the constituents of surrender. So we're going to look at a few examples, and I'm going to show some pictures and have you tell me what is the pastime, and I'll maybe explain a little bit about the story. And I want you to think about which principles of surrender were most prominent. So in that pastime, which principles were really driving that person? And then as we go through the different pastimes, how did they manifest differently from others? And what would it be like if one tried to imitate the other? Okay? Can you keep those questions in your head? What is it? What are the principles, the main principles? And then how did they manifest differently from the other stories? And then what would it be like if we mixed and matched? Okay? You ready? Okay. Okay, Bali Maharaj and Vamana Dev. This is the quintessential example of surrender, right? Bali Maharaj is the king here at the bottom, and Vamana Dev is the form of the Lord who's come as a dwarf and actually cheated Bali. Even when the Lord cheats, it's a good thing. When we cheat, we go to jail. But when Krishna cheats, he's glorified for it. So, again, it's a long story. I hope most of you know the gist of it, but I'm just trying to share for those who might not. Bali Maharaj was actually a great king. He had taken over the entire universe, right? And even the demigods were afraid of him. He literally owned everything. And but he did have a good quality, and he was also from a demoniac family, which is also so special and unique from the Bhagavatam, that we have devotees that are glorified who are coming from unexpected places. So Bali Maharaj he had respect for brahmanas, and so this brahmana priest, Vamana Dev, came and begged 3 steps of land from him with his short legs. And Bali Maharaj said, okay, sure. I have so much more that I can give you, but if that's all you want. And what did Vamana Dev do? With 1 step, reached to the heavenly planets, 1 step reached to the other side of the universe, and there was nothing else to be given. And what did Bali do? Bowed his head and said, you can put your foot on my head. So he literally gave everything. He gave his kingdom, his wealth, and his own body. So he's a representative of surrender. So what would you say are some of the main principles that were present in this pastime, in his expression of surrender? Atmanikshepa. Yep, he definitely gave everything and didn't expect that it was going to hurt him, and ultimately it didn't. Right? He became glorified, and Krishna, Vamana Dev reinstated him as the king in the lower planets. Yeah, he's a Mahajan. He was glorified. He's glorified for eternity now. Yeah, that's pretty much the main principle. Any other principles that you can see of the 6? Humility. Yeah, can you say more? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good. So next one. Sudama. So, funny thing, how did this story end? Sudama got an entire kingdom after surrendering to Krishna. And so Sudama Brahman was the friend of Krishna as a child, and he was asked by his loving wife that please, they were very poor, and he just accepted that whatever, he accepted, Krishna's my protector, Krishna's my maintainer, I'll take whatever comes. If I'm meant to be poor, I'll be poor. And his wife said, can we maybe, Krishna, you're good friends with him. He's pretty rich. He has like 16,000 wives and kingdoms and like a lot of money. Maybe you could go talk to him. And so Sudama actually was enlivened at the opportunity to go speak to Krishna because he loved Krishna, his friend, his childhood friend. He actually felt embarrassed to ask for anything from Krishna. So when he went, he spoke with Krishna, and all he had to bring was a little sack of chipped rice. He was even embarrassed to take that, right? And here Krishna is honoring him, and Rukmini is fanning him. And when he went home, what did he find? His small little hut that he had become this massive palace with maidservants and so many things. So another exalted devotee that had a completely opposite from the past example that we shared, right? The culmination of his surrender was actually, okay, you're going to take a kingdom now. And actually the acharyas explained that part of the reason that this was done was that Sudama Brahman was still attached to his renunciation. He was attached to being able to be poor and be okay with it. And so Krishna said, you're going to take this. And there were various other reasons. But so what were some principles that were prominent in this pastime or in the life of Sudama? What is it? That Krishna, okay, so he had the confidence that Krishna is my maintainer, no matter what. Yeah, it doesn't mean that Krishna's my maintainer, so where's my six-figure, paycheck? Yeah, so these two were very prominent, right? In his life, he accepted that whatever's there, I know that Krishna is still present in my life, protecting me and maintaining me. Yeah. All right, this is one pastime. Two pictures. Dhruva Maharaj. So in the picture on the left, you can see Dhruva Maharaj becoming traumatized as a child by his stepmother, who basically insulted him and said, you're not worthy of being on the kingdom or sitting on the throne. He was the son of a great king. And so therefore his desire was to get a great kingdom. He wanted to gain everything in the universe. And his reason was probably not the most noble, but you can't blame him. He was a 5-year-old child who was hurt by his stepmother, but he wanted some kind of revenge, right? He wanted some kind of, I don't know if you can call it revenge, but he wanted to show that, no, I can own a kingdom, right? And luckily he came across a great bhakti teacher, saint, sage, Narada Muni, who first told him that he should go home. He said, you're 5 years old, you don't need to be in the forest. He ran away to the forest because he thought that that's where people could find God, because his stepmother said, well, you better worship God to, what did she say? To take birth in my womb. And so, anyway, he was instructed that, well, if God can solve any problem. And so he said, okay, I want to see this person. So he went to the forest because his real mother said, well, I've heard that, the sages and saints, they go to the forest to find God. So he went there and he found Narada Muni, who instructed him in processes and practices of bhakti. And ultimately, in the picture on the right, you can see his meeting with the Supreme Lord in the form of Vishnu. So this is Vishnu and his beautiful bird carrier, Garuda. And when he saw this form of Vishnu, after meditating for 6 months or something like that, doing intense, austerities. His whole purpose was not to develop love of God and not even to become self-realized. All he wanted was a kingdom, a very big kingdom. But when he saw the form of the Lord, it was so beautiful that it melted his heart. And he stated the famous phrase that I was looking for some glass, looking for broken pieces of glass, and I happened to find a diamond. And so now I don't want this kingdom anymore. And what happened? Vishnu gave it to him anyway, right? But he actually, part of the lesson from this story is more about having desires that are separate from Krishna, right? And he regretted his desires, and he said that I should never have even worried about that, because the only thing that really satisfies me is just having this view, this darshan of the Lord. So, this one is an interesting pastime because it might not seem to be really surrender. But what would you all say? Or what were some principles of surrender that might have been there in Dhruva Maharaj's? Yes. So he trusted his spiritual master, right? And he followed the principles, the rules, the instructions that his spiritual master gave him. So he surrendered in that form. Yeah. So he felt humbled when he actually came to see that the Lord was so much greater than anything that he could ever want. Yeah, and then his prayers were full of surrender. Anything else? Accepting what is favorable. How's that? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he had a goal, right? He had a goal to reach Krishna, and his mother, who actually was his first guru, she said, I've heard that, if you really want to find God, then, I've heard that people find him in the forest. So that's where straight out where he went. So that was an example of accepting what's favorable. Yeah. Okay, who is this on the ground there? Raghunath Das Goswami. So this is a famous pastime. I was actually looking for a pastime from earlier in his life, but this is a well-known pastime where Raghunath Das Goswami actually comes and falls at the feet of Lord Nityananda, and a beautiful festival is performed. But we won't discuss this pastime specifically right now. But if you think about the life of Raghunath Das Goswami, he was born into actually great wealth. Very wealthy person, very cultured, and he didn't want it, right? So the previous, we were looking at Dhruva Maharaj, who wanted a kingdom, right? But Raghunath Das Goswami didn't want. And he kept trying to leave. He kept trying to run away. Just to, actually, he had met Lord Chaitanya when he was a child. And from that experience, all he wanted was to go and serve him, right? And he kept trying to leave, and then his family would, somehow, they had guards, and they would have to, be up at all hours of the night just to make sure he didn't run away. And yet, at one point, he was instructed by Lord Chaitanya that now is not the time. That just wait, just be patient. You live and be happy in your family life, and later, your desires for renunciation and joining, my mission in a full capacity will be fulfilled. So Raghunath Das Goswami was someone who had everything and wanted to give it up, but didn't, right? And then eventually, by the mercy of Lord Nityananda, he was given the shelter of Lord Chaitanya's associates. So what are some principles in his life that would be principles of surrender that were manifested? So which of the 6 can you say? Atmanikshepa. So explain. Okay. So when he heard the instruction from the Lord that said, you wait here, he accepted that, right? As this is what's good for me. And that was his surrender. So actually the surrender was not even later when he, gave up all his wealth and gave up everything externally. The surrender was in his heart. Well, probably you could even say from an earlier stage. But when he heard that instruction, he deeply surrendered to the Lord's instruction. Yeah. Okay, we have a few minutes left. Famous one, Gajendra. So Gajendra is unique because Gajendra was surrendering with a desire in his heart, right? To be freed from misery, freed from distress. And again, another personality who comes from a very unexpected background. He's not even a human. He's an elephant. And he was fighting this crocodile who just came upon him in the midst of his, enjoyment. And at a certain point realized, I can't win. And then began to offer prayers of surrender. So he was desiring initially to be freed from his distress. And then through the process of his prayers, he actually becomes purified and realizes that actually I'm just part of the Lord, and whatever the Lord desires, I just ask that he come and save me from material life in general. So how is this different from any of the other pastimes we've looked at? The elephant is very strong, and eventually he realizes that his strength is nothing. Yeah. What else? How else does it compare to some of the other pastimes? It took him a long time. He wasn't like Raghunath Das Goswami who just, and he wanted to enjoy, right? He wanted to be in this world, and he wanted to. He was in a completely different place, right? Raghunath Das Goswami was ready to just give up everything, right? Gajendra was not there, and yet his surrender. So the point is that according to where we're at, our surrender manifests differently, right? That's kind of the theme we're trying to keep here, and we just have a few minutes left. Prahlad Maharaj. So just since we have this pastime, this festival coming up soon, Prahlad Maharaj is celebrated as a great devotee, mainly for always remembering the Lord. But I wanted to bring his life and his pastimes up as an example of surrender. So Prahlad Maharaj was a great, great devotee who was persecuted by his father. His father didn't want him to be a devotee. His father wanted him to be a politician, a great materialist, and just got upset anytime that Prahlad would say, you should worship the Lord. Don't worry about anything else. And began to try to kill him in so many different ways. So How did Prahlad react differently than Gajendra? Just Thank you. So Gajendra was first depending on his friends and family, and then he was depending on his own strength, and then finally he surrendered to the Lord. And was Gajendra fighting against the whatever? Yeah, obviously, right? He was fighting against his competitor. But did Prahlad fight against his father or those who were persecuting him? All he did was fold his hands and chant and remember the Lord. And he was fully surrendered and accepted that the Lord is my protector. The Lord, if he wants to kill me, he can kill me. Nobody can stop. And if he wants to save me, nobody can kill me. So, again, another exalted devotee, exalted pastime that manifested in a different way, right? Both of them actually were responsible for the Lord appearing. Gajendra was calling out in distress, and the Lord appeared to save him. And Prahlad Maharaj actually was not calling out. He knew the Lord was right there in his heart. So he was actually at a higher stage, and he fully could recognize that the Lord is the controller of all things. So there's no way that he can be in danger if it's not the desire of the Lord. In Prahlad's pastime. Yeah, so Prahlad actually manifested the Lord just because of the degree of his surrender. Yes, thank you. So, a few benefits of remembering surrender is unique. It's very easy to look at someone else who's on the path of bhakti and say, wow, my life should look like that. But if we recognize that surrender is a unique path that we are each on, and it manifests in different ways, then it's much easier to be freed from this comparison and envy, wanting to be like one another, or seeing another person in another situation. We can recognize that actually we're all on this path, and it's manifesting in different ways according to our own levels of progress and the will of the Lord. And impatience. This is one I'm working on. To want to be at a certain level. So when we recognize that surrender is manifested in different ways, it really helps us to, again, just become genuine with our own journey and and how it's manifesting in our own life. Are there any other thoughts of how this could be beneficial in your life? Yes. To not be duplicitous. Thank you. That's a really very good point, that I don't have to put on a pretense, right? That a good devotee looks like this. So let me, try and show that. Actually, a good devotee can look like a crocodile or an elephant, I don't even know what his prayers sounded like, but it might have been an interesting sound in the middle of the lake. So it can take so many different forms. So yes, thank you. And that's it. That's all I have. I was thinking if we had time, we could just do a few minutes of kirtan and just reflection on how is Krishna inviting you to surrender today. But I'm not sure where we're at. Yeah. So I would also like to just recognize that a great emblem of surrender, His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj has, I would definitely like to acknowledge his life as a beautiful emblem of surrender and service, and hope that he will be pleased by this presentation. So, thank you. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So let's thank, Prabhu. Very nice, like very thoughtful and very practical presentation. And also bringing all these pastimes from Srimad Bhagavatam, really we start thinking about like, okay, this level, this person's surrender versus this person's surrender, and it's so wonderful. So thank you so much, Prabhu. It was very, very practical, very thoughtful, and very, like something that we can meditate on, how we can actually apply surrender in our daily life. So let's thank again Vinod Kovida Prabhu for the very wonderful presentation. Haribo! His Grace Vinod Kovida Prabhu ki jai ho. We just need a little space there for Mataji's can slightly move to the side. Okay, so Hare Krishna. So today, now we'll be honoring a very, very special Vaishnava, a very pillar of our International Society for Krishna Consciousness all around the world, one of the most prominent commanders in the army of Srila Prabhupada. We would like to honor His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki. Prabhu, we can bring Parikshit Prabhu. Next to Prabhupada. Right there. We can come in front because everyone has to come and offer flowers slightly in front. Thank you. Hare Krishna. So before we start our glorification of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj, just a couple of announcements. So earlier I announced the devotees who have cooked the offering, the feast offering today. I would particularly like to thank Radha Shakti Mataji. She was like really wanted to come in today. She's a disciple of Maharaj. So really came in and took the lead and planned the entire cooking. So we'll especially thank Radha Shakti Mataji for her seva today. Also coming up on the calendar, Prabhu also mentioned very soon, we have our next big festival, which is, so this year it falls on May 22nd, which is a Wednesday. So on Wednesday evening, we'll have a festival here in the temple. Please mark your calendars, Wednesday, May 22nd. And we'll have a big Narsimha Yagya on the day of Narsimha Chaturdashi. So please join us for this Yagya. It's going to be very powerful. Everyone please join, participate in this Yagya. And also, if you like to sponsor the Yagya, you can $301 for the Yagya sponsorship, and then we have Artik and Abhishek sponsorship for $108, right? And the fee sponsorship for $301. Also, we would like to thank the devotees who have sponsored the feast today. So today's feast is sponsored by Shudha Shenoy Mataji. Mataji is sitting right there, and today is actually her birthday. So, Haribo! So, Prabhu and Mataji, they have been serving our community for many, many years. I think decades. They have been continuously coming to New Goloka, contributing to a temple, giving donations to a temple, serving New Goloka in so many wonderful ways. So we would like to thank them for their service, and we would like to pray to Shri Shri Radha Golokananda to shower their blessings on this wonderful family. So please everyone loudly chant, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Shri Shri Radha Golokananda ki jai. Also, we have a second peace sponsorship which just came in right now, a few minutes before. We have Shobha and Mukund Saraiya. Many of you may know them. They also frequently come to a temple. They have also sponsored the feast. So we'll thank them also, and we pray to Radha Golokananda to shower their blessings on them. So please, everyone, please join me. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama.
Videos are 2 minutes 15 seconds. Which one? All of the videos are 2 minutes 15 seconds. No, one is
Hare Krishna. So we'll be starting off with a short video. Let's see if Advait Chandra can pull that up on Gopal Krishna Maharaj, and then we have a short video where His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj has a short offering for Maharaj. That's not it. Okay. Okay, by the time we get set up, we'll plan, we'll change the order of our program, but we would like to request His Grace Jagat Purush Prabhu and then His Grace Apura Prabhu to speak a few words, and then we'll have the video and we'll see the video of Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj. Do you have a Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj video ready? Okay, let's start with that then. Just see the volume is. That's good. We have some technical difficulties, but okay, let's request Jagat Purush Prabhu. Sorry, by the time we'll figure all the technical aspects.
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj ki jai. So as the Dichanarayan Prabhu said, Gopal Krishna Maharaj has been one of the commanders in our army of Krishna consciousness under the direct guidance and leadership of Srila Prabhupada. Gopal Krishna Maharaj was living in Canada and was working for a large company as an executive, and he became attracted to Krishna consciousness there in Canada. I believe it was in Toronto or in Montreal, I'm not sure. But Srila Prabhupada immediately recognized in him great potential as a leader, because he had such natural leadership qualities. And I would say that there's a small elite number of devotees who are in his league that I would call 5-star generals. He was, I had the great honor of knowing him very, very well because I lived for 10 years in Mumbai in the early days of that project. And Gopal Krishna Maharaj was made the GBC for India in the very early days. And so we had a lot of contact. So my observation of Maharaj from the first time that I met him was that here's a completely surrendered soul, completely in keeping with today's presentation. He is truly the example and the emblem. Whatever Srila Prabhupada wanted, he was ready to do. No question. And therefore, he became a leader in so many different capacities because Srila Prabhupada wanted everything to be done. And he became the sort of the spearhead leader of book distribution, which was one of the services that was the most dear to Srila Prabhupada. And he ultimately took responsibility for the local area of Delhi, although he was, as a GBC member, responsible for all of our centers in India, along with eventually many other GBC members, but his primary focus was in Delhi. And Delhi, as far as I know, has been more or less the leader, am I correct, Teacher Ryan, in book distribution in the world. So he inspired so many devotees because he had this burning desire to please Srila Prabhupada at every moment of his life. And I never knew him to ever deviate. He was very serious, very, very grave. It was, I think perhaps I was a little sentimental back in those days, perhaps I still am. And I, always hankered for a very close personal relationship, especially with my authorities. So I never got that with Gopal Krishna Maharaj, although I ultimately, in time, recognized that he was the most personal because of his surrender. And yet he never wanted to waste time in idle talk whatsoever. And I came over the years to really appreciate that quality of his, that he was so focused on pleasing Srila Prabhupada in whatever was the need of the day. I met him also, he was the GBC, I think he was not the GBC, but he had disciples in Detroit, where I had lived after some years in India and then England, and then came to Detroit. And he used to come and visit because the temple president there was his disciple, and he had some other disciples there. And I had a chance to go on walks with him and develop more of a very personal relationship. The last time I had Maharaj's association was the sweetest of all, I have to say, because it was during the 40th anniversary of the installation of, not the installation, but the grand opening of the temple in Mumbai, in Juhu. And he was there for that, and he invited me to come into his room, and we had a talk for about 20, 30 minutes. I was able to have darshan of his beautiful, beautiful Radha Krishna deities, an altar that I understand that for many, many years he has been very dedicated to worshiping his deities. Another quality of Gopal Krishna Maharaj is that whenever he was present, and this was for several years while I was living in Mumbai, and then whenever I would see him in any temple, he would be the first one in the temple in the morning. He would be offering the arti. The Mangal Arti would be offered by him. Even there in Juhu in recent years, he would be there on the altar offering. And so he was such a great example of devotional service, ready to do anything and everything for the pleasure of his spiritual master. His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj Ki Jai.
I also had some association when I had first joined the New York Temple, and His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj was Grihasta, and he had just come from Montreal, so he was living in New York, and I think in the temple. Every single morning, he would come for Mangal Arti, attend the whole morning program, and chant his rounds, and then be off to work by 8:30. He was a really great example of Grihasta life. And then many years later, I got the opportunity to, I went to India on many different occasions, and he was always encouraging me to move to India and cook in his restaurants. But most notably, he was so very, very personable. And he, I was told by Jadharani when we went to India about 2 years ago, she said that His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj has made it very, very clear that whenever his disciples interact with his god brothers or god sisters, to treat them as good as they treat him. In other words, really take care of them, worship them in some capacity, not exactly worship, but. And I had that practical experience when I was in India 2 years ago, and we stayed in the Delhi temple, and it was just so wonderful to experience the mood there in the Delhi temple, the one that has the restaurant, the first one. And I had the good fortune of seeing him in Vrindavan that year. It was about 2016, and he acknowledged me, and he saw me, and we were just coming out of the Bhagavatam class, the back door of the temple, and he was circumambulating, and he took my hand, and he acknowledged me for coming, and he just became very friendly and invited me again to come and move to India. But I have no doubt in my mind that wherever he is with Srila Prabhupada, because as Jagat Purush mentioned, he was like the commander-in-chief following Srila Prabhupada's footsteps, especially the last 2 years that Prabhupada was on the planet. He took special care. He was basically, whenever he was in India, Gopal Krishna Maharaj was always with him and following him around India, and Prabhupada was grooming him to take on the service that he so nicely performed as GBC of India. And of course, again, massively doing book distribution, engaging all of his temples and disciples. So on this day, I am very, very honored to speak of his glories and his deep love for Srila Prabhupada, his devotees, God brothers and God sisters, and also his determination to, even despite so many physical difficulties over the last couple years, he was always there, giving mercy to all the devotees, and at many risk, preaching Krishna consciousness and following Srila Prabhupada's mood of. Srila Prabhupada once said, I want to die on the battlefield like Arjuna, and certainly he was in that mood, that's Srila Prabhupada, of fighting for Krishna and giving it his everything. Srila Tom, Sri Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj Ki Jai.
Video doesn't work. So this is the offering from His Holiness Bir Krishna Das Goswami. So this is the verbal. When I heard that Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami had left this world, it was as if a piece of my heart had been torn out. He has always been a source of inspiration for me, as well as a perfect example of a real Vaishnava. In addition, he demonstrated absolute devotion to the instructions and mission of Srila Prabhupada, which has been my aspiration. In spite of health challenges, he continued to serve, opening up innumerable temples and inspiring countless jiva souls to reconnect with the divine couple. As instructed by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, he pushed book distribution to astronomical heights by inspiring and instructing others. His personal sadhana was exemplary. Whenever we were present at a temple where he was visiting, we could expect to see him on the altar for Mangalarti, worshiping their lordships. He also maintained his personal deity worship. His kindness to all and service to all the Vaishnavas was amazing. Whenever he was informed that someone was visiting one of the areas that he was responsible for, he personally made all arrangements for them. Vaishnava Seva was extremely important for him. During my association with him, I never once saw him criticize any Vaishnava. He was an ocean of compassion to all of Srila Prabhupada's followers. I could go on unlimitedly glorifying him. All of us will miss him. Living in this world without great Vaishnavas like Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj is extremely painful. All glories to Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj, Veer Krishna Das Goswami.
Hare Krishna. So, there's a nice video. We'll share it on our WhatsApp groups also. It shows about the services that His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj has offered to ISKCON. And we saw a few of them, like one of them showed how he actually took charge of book distribution in India. Prabhupada actually instructed him. He was the first one go to India and start the book distribution. And he's distributed like millions and millions of books. Like Jagat Purush Prabhu was saying, in Delhi, it's normally the #1 temple in the world for book distribution. All under the leadership of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. And now if you see the number of ISKCON temples in Delhi, we have 21 ISKCON temples just in Delhi. And it's all the leadership of His Holiness Gopal Krishna Maharaj. New temple in Vrindavan. Wow, so he's amazing, like so empowered personality. And so, when such exalted personalities leave the planet, it's like a big loss to the entire planet actually. People may not realize it's the presence of these pure devotees that things are actually going in order. Whatever we see in order is just because of the presence of these exalted personalities. So it's a big loss to the entire world, big loss to our ISKCON society, and personally to each one of us. It's lost to actually not have the Vapu association of such an exalted personality. Right? Can you play Bir Krishna? So we'll have a short video. Bir Krishna Maharaj has sent a video. I'm not sure if this is the same as the what Mataji read, but Hare Krishna.
When I heard that Srila Gopal Krishna Goswami had left this world, it was as if a piece of my heart had been torn out. He has always been a source of inspiration for me, as well as a perfect example of a real Vaishnava. In addition, he demonstrated absolute devotion to the instructions and mission of Srila Prabhupada, which has been my aspiration. In spite of health challenges, he continued to serve, opening up innumerable temples and inspiring countless jiva souls to reconnect with the divine couple. As instructed by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada, he pushed book distribution to astronomical heights by inspiring and instructing others. His personal sadhana was exemplary. Whenever we were present at a temple where he was visiting, we could expect to see him on the altar for Mangalarti, worshiping their lordships. He also maintained his personal deity worship. His kindness to all and service to all the Vaishnavas was amazing. Whenever he was informed that anyone was visiting one of the areas that he was responsible for, he personally made all arrangements for them. Vaishnava Seva was extremely important for him. During my association with him, I never once saw him criticize any Vaishnava. He was an ocean of compassion to all of Srila Prabhupada's followers. I could go on unlimitedly glorifying him. All of us will miss him. Living in this world without great Vaishnavas like Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj is extremely painful. All glory is to Srila Gopal Krishna Maharaj. His servant, Bir Krishna Das Goswami. Hare Krishna.
His Holiness Gopal Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. His Holiness Bir Krishna Goswami Maharaj ki jai. Okay. So now we all can stand up. We'll have Artik of Maharaj, and also we'll be, we have petals, so everyone can take petals while the Aarti is going on. We invite you. You can come forward, offer petals to Maharaj. Okay. Jagat Purush, would you like to lead? Prabhu can lead Kirtan. Huh? Prabhu can lead. Where is it? Prabhu would like to lead Kirtan.
Oh, I was going to do the arti, but either one, whatever you say.
I think if you like to lead Kirtan.
Sure. Samsara or a regular kirtan? You tell me. Uh-huh. Krishna Maharaj ki, Srila Prabhupada ki, Samsara Dava Naralira Loka, Sanaya Karunya Gana Ganatva. Samsara Dava Naralira Loka Tanaya Karunya Gana Ganatvam. Tanaya Karunya Gana Ganatvam. Bhaktasya Kalyana Gunanavasya Bande Goro Shri Charanara Vindam. Mahaprabhu Kirtana Nita Gita Varitrama Janmana Soda Sena. Romanchakam Pashu Taranga Bajo Bande Goro Shri Charanarvindam. Shri Vigrahara Dana Nityananda Shringarathan Mandira Marjanaro. Yuktasya Bhaktam Sandhyam Jatopi Bande Goro Shri Charanarvindam. Saturvida Shri Bhagavat Prasado Swadvana Triptam Hari Bhakta Sangai. Vitaiva Titim Bhajata Sadaiva Bande Goro Shri Charanarvindam. 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 Shri Radhika Madhava Yora Para Madhuya Lila Guna Rupa Namna. Pratikshana Swadvana Lolupasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Nikunjayu no ratikele sidaye ya yalibir yuktira pekshaniya. Tatrare raksharati valabhasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Shakshar Hari Tvena Samasta Shastra Uktastata Bhavyata Eva Sadvi. Kintu Prabhu ya preya eva tasya Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. Yasya prasadat Bhagavat prasado Yasya prasada nagati katopi. Dayam Subham Stasya Yashasri Sandhyam Vande Guru Shri Charanarvindam. 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 Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nivesesha Sunyavari Paschacharya Satarine. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasari Gaur Bhattavrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.